Welcome to my story time by mybooksummary.com. Get ready for quick wisdom of countless stories and explore. Franklin's Bad Day by Paulette Bourgeois. Everyone has those days, the kind where nothing seems to go right, and even your favorite things don't feel fun anymore. Maybe your breakfast tastes bland, your shoes feel too tight, and even the sunshine outside seems too bright and annoying. Franklin the Turtle is having exactly that kind of day, and it's about to get worse before it gets better. Written by Paulette Bourgeois and beautifully illustrated by Brenda Clark, Franklin's Bad Day is a gentle and heartfelt story about emotions, frustration, and the deep sadness that comes from missing someone. It captures something every child and adult has experienced at some point, dealing with a bad mood without fully understanding why. Franklin's story teaches us that sadness often hides behind anger or frustration, and sometimes, the best way to start feeling better is to talk about what's wrong. Let's dive into Franklin's world and follow him through one of his toughest days. Introduction. A morning that feels off. Franklin wakes up feeling grumpy, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't jump out of bed excited for the day, and even the things he usually loves, like playing with his toys or eating breakfast, don't seem enjoyable. He just feels irritated for no reason. Now, let's be honest, we've all been there. Some days you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. But Franklin's bad mood isn't just random. Deep down, something is really bothering him. He just hasn't realized it yet. From the very first pages, kids reading the book can recognize Franklin's emotions because they've likely felt the same way before. He's not crying or throwing a tantrum, but something just doesn't feel right, and that's making him short-tempered and easily frustrated. Chapter 1. A grumpy turtle on a grumpy day. Franklin heads outside, hoping that maybe playing will make him feel better. But the second he steps out, everything starts to annoy him. His friends are playing happily, running around and laughing, but Franklin isn't in the mood for any of it. When Rabbit asks him to join their game, Franklin just snaps at him. When Bear tries to cheer him up, Franklin ignores him. The little things that normally wouldn't bother him suddenly feel like major problems. Bear suggests playing marbles, which Franklin usually loves, but today, nope, not interested. When he loses the game, instead of just shrugging it off, he gets angry. He pouts, he stomps, and his frustration grows. It's not really about the marbles. He's just overwhelmed with feelings he doesn't know how to express. His friends start noticing that Franklin isn't acting like himself. They try to be patient, but it's hard to play with someone who seems mad at everything. Eventually, they leave Franklin alone, giving him space, and that only makes him feel worse. This is such a relatable moment. Sometimes, when we're sad or upset, we push people away without realizing it. And when they do give us space, we feel lonely, even though we were the ones who pushed them away. Chapter 2. When everything feels too much. As the day goes on, Franklin's frustration turns into outright anger. He's mad at his toys, he's mad at the weather, and he's mad at himself. His mother notices that something is wrong. She gently asks if he wants to talk, but Franklin shrugs and says, "I don't know," because at that moment he doesn't know. All he knows is that he feels upset, but he can't figure out why. This part of the book beautifully captures how emotions work for children. Sometimes, kids and even adults don't immediately understand what's making them upset. They just feel bad, and that bad feeling leaks out in the form of grumpiness, frustration, and snapping at others. But Franklin's mother knows her son well. She gives him time and doesn't force him to talk right away. Instead, she simply stays close, letting him know she's there when he's ready. Chapter 3. The truth comes out. Later in the day, when Franklin is finally too tired to keep being grumpy, he sits down with his mother. And that's when it finally spills out. He misses Otter. Otter was Franklin's best friend, but she moved away recently. And even though Franklin knew she had to leave, he didn't realize how big the sadness would feel once she was gone. Now, suddenly, everything makes sense. His bad mood wasn't because of the marbles or the weather or his toys. It was because he missed his friend. But instead of saying it out loud earlier, his sadness had been hiding under frustration and anger. Franklin's mother listens patiently, nodding and comforting him. She doesn't tell him to cheer up or stop being grumpy. Instead, She helps him put words to what he's feeling. Chapter 4. Finding a way to feel better. Now that Franklin knows what's bothering him, his mother helps him think of ways to feel better. She suggests looking at some of the things that remind him of Otter, drawings they made together, little gifts she gave him, and even letters they wrote. At first, Franklin isn't sure if this will help. But as he looks at the pictures, he starts remembering the fun times they had, and a small smile appears on his face. This part of the story teaches an important lesson. Memories don't have to be sad. They can be comforting, too. Just because someone isn't physically there doesn't mean they're completely gone from our lives. Franklin's mother also suggests writing a letter to Otter. Franklin brightens up at the idea. He can still stay in touch with his friend. She might not live nearby anymore, but that doesn't mean they have to stop being friends. Chapter 5. Tomorrow is a new day. By the end of the book, Franklin still misses Otter. That sadness hasn't disappeared, but it feels lighter now. It's not sitting in his chest like a heavy rock anymore. Instead, it's something he understands and knows how to deal with. The next day, Franklin wakes up feeling better. Not perfect, not magically happy, but better. And that's the beauty of this book. It shows kids that emotions don't always vanish overnight. Sometimes they just become easier to carry. Franklin heads outside to play with his friends again, and this time he's ready to join in. He's still thinking about Otter, but he also knows he has other friends who care about him too. And just like that, Franklin's bad day slowly fades away, replaced by hope. Final thoughts. Why this book matters. Franklin's Bad Day is more than just a children's story. It's an emotional roadmap for kids learning how to deal with sadness, frustration, and change. It helps young readers understand that bad days are normal and that emotions, especially the difficult ones, need to be expressed and talked about. Here's why this book is so powerful. White heavy checkmark. It teaches emotional awareness. Kids learn to recognize when they're feeling sad, even if it starts as frustration. White heavy checkmark. It encourages healthy communication. Talking about feelings helps. White heavy checkmark. It provides coping strategies. Remembering happy moments, finding ways to stay connected, and talking to loved ones. White heavy checkmark. It reassures kids that bad days don't last forever. Tomorrow is always a fresh start. This book is a must-read for children learning to navigate big emotions. And honestly, even adults can take something away from Franklin's story. Because let's face it, sometimes we all have days where we're just grumpy turtles trying to figure things out. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Head over to www.mybookssummary.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share the magic with friends. And let's grow together through the power of books and interesting stories.